All right, so hi everybody. I'm Jackson Lewis, and I am the database developer and data analyst for institutional research. And I am here with Christy. I'll let her
Christy
introduce herself.
Chapman. I know. I was like, do you want to introduce me? And I'm Christy Chapman. I work in the admissions office as the recruiting coordinator.
Right, and today we're going to teach you guys about some Microsoft Forms basics. This is the basics session. It's kind of the first in a series of Microsoft Forms staff developments that we're going to be hosting. So a lot of this might be review for people if they've used things like SurveyMonkey or Google Forms before. But that's all right. It's still good to learn how to kind of get through the basics in a new software. Um, Christy and I have been using Forms for several weeks now. And for those of you who don't know, Microsoft Forms is just a survey slash data collection tool that can make it easier for you to gather information. I'm going to kind of hand off to Christy for a second so she can tell you a little bit about how she's been using it to maybe spark some ideas so you can be thinking of how it's applicable to you as we're going through the demo.
Yeah. And honestly, in the past, I've used SurveyMonkey. So I know a lot of us rely on SurveyMonkey. But then I realized with the free trial, it capped me out at 100 responses. So then they wanted us to pay money to get more responses. So we quit using that. We went to Google Forms and things happened. So what's great about Microsoft Forms is you can have unlimited responses. It is very, very user friendly. If I can figure it out on my own without Jackson coaching me, you can do it too, I promise. And it's really cool because it has a lot of really great options on the questions and it helps format them so they look really nice, professional, and presentable. And I used it even for simple things. I threw together a survey to send to high school counselors to ask, hey, when would Show Me Crowder, our annual event, what day would you like to see it on? What times? It was a quick survey and then they submit it. And what's great is the results, and you'll get to see that at the end. We'll show you some results. It's really cool how it breaks it down for you in different graphs and presents it so that way you can easily read and analyze the data and know, okay, this is the date that everyone wanted to go with. You know, I even use it for feedback for events. What did you think of the event? Here's a quick Microsoft form. And my favorite part about it is it's easy to access on our end, thanks to IT. It's a quick go and access, create the form, it's ready to go and send.
Perfect. So we'll go ahead and we'll get the demo rolling. And we are literally going to start at like step one of how to do this because I want to make sure that we don't lose anybody and that everyone gets what they need to. So the first thing you're going to want to do is just go to a web browser.
Mm-hmm.
Just pick your favorite. And from there,
Jackson, is that www dot? Sorry.
um,
90s joke, sorry.
is no, you're
And
good.
actually, hold on, Jackson, don't go off the screen. Since everyone can see it, if you look at this home screen right here, oh no, it just ran away. But the we want to hear from you, crowder.url, that's actually a Microsoft form and that the IT helped us link. So that way, interested students, that all comes in as a Microsoft form. Yep, that one right there.
Yeah, so
So
I'll
we
click on it
created
really
that.
quick and you can see a finished one.
So that's one in action live happening. Pretty cool.
Yeah. And so you can see it looks nice. It's simple. There's not a lot of fluff. And what's really nice is it formats automatically to the size of your window. So no
And it's
matter
mobile
what size
friendly.
screen you're viewing it on, it always looks nice, which to our students is a big deal. I know that a lot of them, if they go to fill something out and it's this just crazy looking thing that's not scaling and things just look wonky, they say, I don't have time for this, and they bounce out, which Heather will tell you all about with the kids at the college fairs.
Yes.
Um, but to get to the site where you can create a Microsoft form, it's the same site you use to access your Crowder webmail. So you just go to portal.office.com. And to make it easy, see. Go. If your information's already saved, you can click on your @crowder.edu email address. If not, you'll be prompted to sign in, and you just sign in with the same credentials you use to access your computer or your email. It's all the same, which again, shout out to IT. Thank you for that. So feel free to unmute if you need to and tell me if you had any trouble getting to this site before we move on. Oh, all right. So once you're here, you'll see on the side you have all of your little apps that you can use. Some of you will already have forms over here. If you do, feel free to click it in the sidebar. It's a little F on a kind of green teal tile. If you don't see it in the sidebar, that's okay. If you go down to the bottom to where it says all apps and you click that, it'll pull it up here and you should see it somewhere in this kind of large list of applications. It'll just say forms. And so if you know your Crowder login, getting to the form site is super easy, and it's not an extra password you're going to have to remember or anything. So when you first open it, if you have any forms that you've already made, you'll see them here, so you can access them quickly to make changes or view the responses you've collected. If you have forms that have been shared with you, you go here, you'll see those. I usually make forms and then share them out. People don't want to share things with me, so mine is empty. And then you can also make group forms, which that's spoilers, that's a future staff development because it's a little bit of a higher level thing to do. We're sticking to the basics today. So anyone not able to get to this screen before I move along? All right, cool. I see the reflection of it in Kelly's glasses, so I know we're good. So you have the option to do a new form or a new quiz. Today, we're going to be looking strictly at the new form. The difference is with the quiz, you can make a key and there's right and wrong answers. With the form, it's just open-ended responses and there's no feedback to the respondent. And so this is where we're hanging out today. So we can click on new form. And I'm just going to go through and show you guys kind of the basics here. So it gives you this blank slate. And you can give it a title. So this one, we're just going to call it a feedback survey because we're designing a form to get some feedback. And this description here, if you have other information that you want to provide to your respondents, then you can add that in there and kind of give them some context to what they're filling out, which is definitely helpful if you're making something for students. And then the last thing before we add any questions, if you click the little picture icon, then you can insert an image from the internet or from your OneDrive account, or you can upload a file from your computer so that your form has kind of a branded look to it. So we'll upload one, and I'm just going to go to the S drive really quick and get a logo. If you're following along, you don't have to worry about doing this part. It's a little bit extra, but we'll throw that in there. So once it loads in, my form will have a Crowder logo on it. And anytime I send it out, it'll look like it's a real thing and students won't feel like they have to be wary of it. So we'll give that some time to upload while we start making some questions. So Christy and I thought it would actually be fun for the demo form to make the form that we're going to have you guys fill out to give us feedback on the staff development session. So the first question we're going to add, it gives us different choices of what kind of responses we're wanting to get. Do we want to get choices? Do we want them to be able to free-form type something in? Are we rating? Is it a date? You can click this to get even more options. And it actually will give you some recommendations. So we have a form that we already made to practice with, and it recognized that we already made this form once. So it was saying, hey, do you want to use the same questions? You can add those quickly here. So if there's something you do every year, you can make a new form for the year. If you name it the same thing, it'll let you carry over all your questions and keep your responses separate. So that's a nice little feature. But we're just going to add a choice question really quick. And the choice question is going to be, what do you plan to use Microsoft Forms for? And so once we make the question, we have a few options. You can upload an image that's specific to the question. So if you need to provide a picture to give the respondent context, you can do that. We'll go ahead and we'll start typing in our options. These are just some that Christy and I came up with off the top of our head. We'll add surveys, event registration, and no one's allowed to pick on me about my spelling. So it gives you two options by default. You can add more options just by clicking the add option button, so you're not limited there. And we'll add a couple more on here. And so once we have our options in there, we can click off of it and it deselects the question, and it kind of gives you a look at what your form is going to look like to a respondent. But if you really want to be able to test it, you can hit this preview button up here at any time. And this is what your respondent will actually see. So this question, they can select one answer. For the type of question we're asking, that's not really a good way to get that feedback. So we can actually go back into the question and say, we want to let them do multiple answers. You do that, it changes those radio buttons to check marks. Now, if we preview, someone can select as many answers or as few as they want.
And you can also decide if you want to make a question required or not. So certain questions you might want to for sure get an answer, whereas others can be optional.
Yes, so that option that Christy's talking about is at the bottom right here next to the allow multiple answers. You just make it required, and then the respondent won't be able to submit the form till they select an answer. On kind of an open-ended question like this, it's also nice to add a add other option. So if you do that, it's this gray other down here that you really can't interact with. If you go to the preview, you can see that they can actually type in their own answer in addition to multiple. So they can select as many as they want, and they can add their own and select it as well. So that's adding a question with multiple choices and being able to choose how many choices you want them to be able to select. Another one we're going to look at is a rating. So Christy and I want to know how you plan to use Microsoft Forms, but we also want to know how you would rate our staff development session. So we can throw that question in there, and it defaults when you choose a rating question to stars. That's something that for the most part people understand, and it's pretty straightforward. But sometimes, especially if you've worked with admissions and gone through the interest cards that we get back from college fairs, you need to be as specific as possible about what you want. So we can even add in here by clicking these little ellipses to get more options. We can add a subtitle. So we can say, with 5 stars being the best. So now there's no confusion about how you should kind of perceive what the scale is. You can also say, I'm sending something out that's professional. I don't know that stars are really the best look. So we can change the symbol from a star to a number, and then it's just a traditional kind of 1 through 5 rating. But anyone who knows Christy and I knows that we're not going to miss an opportunity to put a star on something. So
Sparkle.
they're here to stay. You can also change the level. The level is just their fancy way of saying how many options. So we can go up to 7 stars, we can go up to 10, and it transitions over to the number 2. So those work in tandem together. We're just going to leave this one as 5 stars, which, if you notice, we kind of went back to the default, which is what'll happen a lot when you're making the forms. It does a good job of giving you kind of upfront what most people would want to use. So a rating, simple 5-star review, it's already built in. You don't really have to change anything once you select that type of question.
And Jackson, we had an excellent question come in. Is there a downside to requiring an answer for a question? So to have a question required, I would say, and Jackson can chime in too, the downside is you cannot submit. If you require a question, like they have to answer, they can't submit without answering. So if it's a personal question, like, maybe they don't want to answer and it's required, then it might deter them from the form and they might just X out and not complete. Whenever it's more generic, what do you plan to use Microsoft Forms for? And you do give them that option of other, kind of give them some flexibility. They're usually going to be open to filling out and completing all the required.
Thank you for catching that question, Christy.
It was sent privately. You're good, Jackson.
I haven't seen it because they take it away.
Doesn't say.
Share your screen.
Yeah.
So I like our form so far. I'm going to add one more question before I send it to Christy for review. And I just want to give us a question about, do you have any suggestions for future staff development sessions? And so we can enter a subtitle here. I don't think we really need one. We can make it required. We can make it long answer. The difference here, and Christy and I talked about this, it's all psychology. It stores the data the same way. And I'll show you what it looks like without long answer selected. It just gives you a line. If you go back and you change the question to long answer, it gives you a box. And this box will grow as people type, whereas the short answer box does not. So it depends on how much information you're wanting to get your respondent to type in. If you're wanting a lot of feedback, you want to go long answer, because if they just type a little bit, it'll look empty. If you just want a little bit of information, go with short answer, because it'll kind of mentally discourage them from typing too much. So I'm really happy with this form. And since Christy and I are working together on this, I'm going to show you guys how you can collaborate and share a form in real time with somebody. If you go up to this share option and you go down to the very last section here, share to collaborate, you can get a link to view and edit. And the first option it gives you here by default is users with an Office 365 work or school account can view and edit. Only people in my organization can view and edit. Specific people in my organization can view and edit. So we're pretty relaxed. I don't think anyone's going to get in here and mess with my form. So I'm going to keep it on this default lowest security setting. And I'm going to copy this link. And I'm going to send it to Christy in an email really quick. And so once she receives that, she'll click that link and it'll take her directly to this form.
Okay. Do you want to stop screen sharing and then I'll...
Absolutely. I'm going to cut myself off here.
And while I'm pulling it up and getting my screen share ready, does anyone have questions?
Christy, since I'm just following along, can you show us before we end what the date question looks like?
Oh yeah, don't worry. We're not even begun yet. No, not really. We have begun. We're not done yet though. So yes, hold on tight. I'm going to go share my screen. Okay. And all right, let's see, share. Okay, so hopefully you can see my screen. So I'm here, I went to portal.office.com, and you can see I have different my forms and then shared with me. Well, actually, wait a minute. Nope, I do need to go to my email. Pause, that was from yesterday. It was so yesterday's survey, hold on. You could tell by the mountain we were playing with images. Okay, hold on one second. Sorry, delay. I'm still trying to load my email. This is dramatic. Mhm.
I see Daniel smiling. Is he keeping you out of your email?
Yeah. Did you change my password?
Nope, but
Okay,
having done this live, it's always at that moment when things slow, right?
yeah, when you're like, okay, oops.
Well, in
Okay,
case it doesn't load, I went ahead, Christy, and I sent it to you in the Zoom chat too.
good. Okay, there we go. Now it loaded into my forms. That's what I want to see.
Perfect.
Perfect. Okay. So we're back to sharing screen. So I opened in my email and then it put it in here. Here's where I wanted you to see it at right here. So feedback survey. So I click on this. I'm like, okay, Jackson, thanks for working on it. Oh, that looks good. Well, Jackson, I'd like to add a couple more questions to this survey. So, and also you can mess with the themes. So up here, so, you know, when I first get something, I'm like, let's change the color. Let's make it sparkle and fun. And you can make it look, you know, like a nice adventure. You're on vacation. Let's go with that. Or a man shouting from the mountaintops. That'd be fun too. So you can kind of play with different things. You can upload an image as well, but this isn't really that imperative. So we're going to focus on the questions. Jamie, you had an excellent question. We're going to get to that one in a moment. So I'm thinking I want to add a new question. And I'm going to do a choice question. And I'm going to say, which department, again, remember we're sending this to you after. So which department are you part of? And enter a subtitle. I feel like you kind of know what department you're part of. You probably can figure that out. So on the options, and I'm just going to abbreviate in case you're not sure who you answer to. Student affairs, you answer to TIFF. Academic affairs, you answer to Adam. Add some options. And for the sake of time, I'm abbreviating some of these so that way we don't suck up all your time. Finance. And then other is Glenn. Oh, come on. Okay. And then I want to get fancy because if you look at this and you go to preview, this can have multiple answers. So you do want to be able to see all the answers. We're rating. But on this question, which department are you part of? We're all only answer to one department. So I think, that looks kind of busy. Let me go back and edit. And what you can do is you can select drop down. And you can make it required, not required. So then when you preview, it's a drop down, so it just looks a little cleaner. It doesn't look as overwhelming. For us as professionals, of course, we're going to always answer those surveys, but I know for students, sometimes if they see a survey that has a lot and it's really busy, it's like, nope, I don't have time for this, on to the next one. So you do want to keep your surveys, you know, clean and simple. It goes back to that psychology of you want them to look inviting and not overwhelming to where you're discouraged from completing it. Okay, and then for the date question, Jamie, excellent. So we want to put a date question in here. And honestly, you could use this for, you know, surveying, hey, please tell us what date works best for you. For our interest forms for prospective students, please share your birthday. For this, just so that way you can use the date feature, no, When is Crowder's birthday? Birthday party.
Don't spoil it.
And that's what I was going to say. For the sake of, consistency, we put April 1st, 1963. But this is not a right or wrong. It's not a quiz. So you can just put any date in there when you complete this survey. Just again, so you as the respondent can get a feel for what it's like entering the date. Oh, am I buzzing out, or is that my internet? Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you.
Okay, good. It kind of looked like it was stalling a little bit. And again, you can make them required. You can make them not required. And then, when is Crowder birthday? Well, again, don't judge us on our spelling, punctuation. Crowder's birthday. It's fine. Okay. So again, you want to preview, and I'm going to pretend like I sent this to Jackson. Jackson and I are looking at this. We're like, okay, this looks good.
Well, and
Everything we want. Oh, go ahead, Jackson.
what's nice is I noticed that, it's really bugging me that Christy left the apostrophe.
Apostrophe. I
out
knew
of
that.
So I can go in and change it on mine. And if she refreshes her page, then you can see my name there where I edited that. So it has that little JL, and then now the apostrophe is there. So even though she has this open, I can go in and I can still make changes, and we can work on it at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Jackson, do you feel good about this?
Yeah, I like it.
Like
I'm
it.
glad that you
Okay.
added those questions.
So then I'm going to go here and say, okay, let's share it, Jackson. Let's get some responses. And when you go here, only people in my organization can respond. This is important, especially obviously if you're sending to external to students, to community members, counselors, whatever you need to use this for. Anyone with the link can respond. So you can email the link, or like like you saw on the web banner on our website, we worked with IT to create a link that will direct students when they click on that to our Microsoft form. So anyone with a link can respond. We're just going to choose that. And if you want to get fancy, it does give you a QR code that students can hold their camera up to on their phone, and it'll go. And remember, this is mobile friendly. So when they pull it up on their phone, it will actually format. It won't look crazy. It'll look inviting, like a real form. So I'm going to hit copy. I want to copy the link. And on our Zoom chat, did you already send the link, Jackson?
No, I did not.
Okay. Hold on. Let me change this to send to everyone in meeting. So if you all want to take a moment, go ahead literally and in the chat. And if you can't pull up the chat, if you look on the bottom of your Zoom screen, it'll say chat. And sometimes it disappears. So bring your mouse over if you have to kind of wake up your Zoom screen, hit chat, and then click on that link and go ahead and fill it out. Because then the purpose of you filling it out is so that way we can show you what the results look like whenever you complete a survey. That way you can kind of see how cool it is.
While you guys are doing that, does anyone have any questions about any of the question types or anything we've gone over so far? Okay, then I'm going to assume it's because we did just such a good job covering everything that there could not possibly be a question.
Hey, this is probably going to be a dumb question, but I also had a Blackboard notification pop up prior to this saying to watch a video for this class. What is that all about? Is there anything we need to do?
No.
I'm not,
I'm going to delegate that one to Jackson.
I don't think that's anything that has to do with us. Daniel's shaking his head. I've been absolved.
Don't click random links.
I'm not. No, it showed up on the actual Blackboard. But,
Oh, okay.
It said write a half-page paper on the video. And
Oh,
that's it.
I wonder, Jackson, was that for employees later that watch it not live, maybe? to get staff development credit?
Yes, you're right,
She said that
Christy.
out. Okay.
Maybe, yeah.
Okay, Philip's no longer allowed to answer questions or ask questions.
You can only ask.
bad.
You get one, you're done. Jackson, do you want to screen share to show some of the results?
Absolutely. All right, so you should be able to see my screen again, and I've not refreshed my page or anything. Just as responses come in, this number will update. So we have 9 in, which is good. There's 18 of you, I think.
10,
So we're still
yay.
missing 8, but that's okay. If I say that the list of responses is what I'm going to turn into Michelle to give credit, I wonder if that number will go up. But if we go over to that responses tab, so we can see out of the answers so far, it gives you a quick, you have 10 responses, average time to complete's been about 1.5 minutes. It's updating live as new responses come in. So you just saw it flicker, went from 10 to 11, the average time changed. So as we scroll through, we get a nice summary. So 8 participants marked that they would use this for surveys, 4 marked for event registration and data collection. And as you do that, it kind of highlights in the chart where that is. It's very nice and friendly. We have an average 5-star rating. We might have to get on Yelp. And we have a list of suggestions that people left for us. Oh, and see now we're at 12 responses, so it keeps updating in real time. We can see a breakdown of which departments are attending this session. And so that kind of tells us, okay, who are the people that we're serving with this staff development session, so that when we do future ones, we can gear it better towards that audience. We have a lot of fun answers.
Don't tell Glenn I left the N off of his name. Like we said, don't judge us on our spelling.
What's nice is we can even go in and fix that. And for people answering in the future, it'll be fixed. And on our
Yay.
report, it'll be automatically fixed too, just like that. So really quick and easy changes. And we're going to say that we made any mistakes that we made on purpose so we could show you guys how easy it is to fix them. So I've got 13 responses. So let's say the summary data is nice, but you really want to see individual responses. If you go up here to view results and you click that, you can actually just click through and look at each of the individual responses as if they turned in a paper survey. So I know that's what a lot of people are used to. You can scroll through those and it says anonymous here because you weren't signed into your account to fill out the survey. If we would have said only people in the organization could respond and you would have had to sign in to your Crowder account, then this would actually tell us who did it. So you can keep that in mind if it's something that you need to know who filled it out and who didn't. So we'll go back. We're up to 15. Awesome. I think we're only missing 3. Very last thing on viewing results is you can go to open in Excel, which if you're like me, this data is nice, but if you're a data person, you like to get in and actually look and see what the rows and columns say. So it'll download as Excel. You can open it up. It's trying to open really hard. Oh, there it is opening on another screen. Okay, I'm not crazy. It's fine. So we'll have to enable editing so we can see here all of our responses in a spreadsheet. So if you want to make your own graph or you want to get an average of something or do any counting or anything, you can do all of that right here. It assigns everybody an ID number. It gives you the time they started the survey, the time they completed. These 2 fields for, again, if you're signed into your Crowder account, it'll automatically pull in the name and the email, which is nice if you're doing something internal because then you don't have to have a separate box for name and email. It'll pull it on its own. So that's another thing that's really nice. I'll go ahead. I'm going to close this feedback.
And I will say, The catch to that is for the high school counselors, I did send an event survey and I said at the end, thanks for completing the survey. If you want to be entered in a random drawing, provide your name and email. So, I mean, you can still get name and emails if you want. I literally included that as a question and as an incentive. Complete the survey and you get entered in a drawing, but you do have to give your name and email to be entered in the drawing.
Yes. Well, and what Christy mentioned made me think of something else. So you guys, when you completed the survey, it gave you a thank you for submitting blah, blah, blah generic text. You actually are able to go into your dots right here and click on settings. And down here in the bottom, you can do a custom thank you message. So if you don't like the generic thank you, whatever, or you need something more specific, you can click on that and you can type that in. And as soon as you type it in, it's saved in there. And the next person that answers will get that message instead of the generic.
And also stay on that screen, Jackson, the start and end date. So sometimes you're like, we need you to respond to this survey by this date, so you can select the date range.
Yes, so if someone tries to access it outside that date range, they'll just get a message saying that the form is unavailable. And so that's really nice, being able to set bars on that, because I know sometimes people will get to emails really late. And this is just nice for them more than you even, because then they won't waste their time filling out something that's already passed that their data won't be brought into because they missed the deadline. So the start and end date is really nice. You also have an option to shuffle questions, which is mostly going to be good if you're making something like a quiz or something where people could be looking at other screens trying to cheat. It'll provide a random question order for every participant.
I'm laughing because I just saw Philip's background. Okay. Also, the notification I like too, because you can choose to send, you can get an email notification, which for 18 participants, that's not bad. But if you send it out to anyone, that can be very overwhelming quick. But it's a good feature.
Well, yeah, and the notifications go both ways. So you can send an email receipt to respondents so that they know that we received their survey. And like Christy said, you can have one sent to you so that you're aware that something was filled out. So like the inquiry form on the website that we showed you at the beginning, that's a great thing for Christy to have notifications on, because then she can quickly respond to that student and get them a packet sent out and all of the information that they need. It's not a report that Cindy has to pull out of the website like once a month, and Christy has this pile on her desk of, okay, I need to help these people that have been waiting for like 30 days. It really helps us be more student friendly. And this is a little bit of a spoiler, probably not in the next in the series, but in the most advanced level of the series for Microsoft Forms, we'll teach you how to send an email with custom information. So if they're registering for an event, you can actually pull what days and times in different data fields and kind of merge those into an email to be sent to a respondent. So Forms is a lot more powerful than just what we showed you today, but we wanted to start small and kind of work our way up there so that people could really get a feel of what was going on. Anything handy or big that we missed that we want to show with the rest of the time, Christy?
I covered everything on my notes,
Yeah.
all the basics.
We hit all the notes. Oh, I did think of one more thing. So let's say that you're teaching a class and you want to make a form, but you want to do it in paper and hand it out during class. If you go up here, you actually have an option to print the form. So you can make the form in this software, and then you can easily just print it like a PDF and hand it out if you wanted to. Mm-hmm. It does get this nice little Microsoft Forms flavor text at the bottom. So, it is free and they want you to know where it came from, but that's a lot easier than making like a fillable PDF or something like that in Word by like a long shot.
And Jackson, we have some good questions. Is it possible to attach a PDF or other document to the form when responding?
Yes, so that's something that's going to be covered in a future class, but I'll give you a short teaser. When you add a question, if you go down here to more options, there's a file upload choice, but that's only possible for when the people are in the Crowder organization. That does not work for external users. So you would need to do something different if you were wanting to get external documents.
And Jackson, will branching be covered in future development sessions?
Yes, branching will be covered probably in the next session. We're still finalizing the verbiage and the short curriculum for those, but the next session will likely be choosing good survey questions, structuring your survey properly, dealing with complicated things like branching. And then the most advanced session, the last one, will be over integration and setting up those automatic responses that pull information from the form, adding a form with results into Microsoft Teams. So this session is basics. The next one is setting up good surveys. The last one is integrating your surveys to make them more powerful. So that's kind of the rough outline. And those will be showing up on the staff development calendar soon. I see a question from Philip. Can one easily share the form, not a link, onto other platforms such as Facebook? So,
For instance, like a PDF is what I meant. You pretty much have to copy and paste a link to a lot of those because it really Adobe really limits your editing abilities without paying. So I didn't know if this is just kind of I could share the results page that you showed us onto Facebook, or they have to actually click a link and log in.
So the response page would mostly just be a manual, like you would have to export your responses as a PDF. There's not really a way to get those in live unless you do a few other steps, maybe like setting the form up to try to go directly to a spreadsheet that feeds a website, which you then embed on your page without bringing in outside tools. The answer's no. Right, and Christy, did we cover Crystal's question? What's the best way to share these forms to people outside of the Crowder community? What would you
I
recommend?
think that must have been I didn't see that one, so sorry. I'm glad you asked. Honestly, it is tricky, but I feel like the best way, like what I did for the counselors, and I know I keep referencing it, but I like to give you real things we've actually used. So like I said, on the website, I worked with IT and they were able to give a nice, pretty, direct link to it, crowder.url.interest, I think. So you can kind of tailor it to what you need. If you're just emailing the survey, you can hyperlink the actual survey link. How many times can I say link in a response? But you can link it in an email to a Word, if that makes sense. That doesn't make sense. Jackson, can you show, or do you want me to screen share and show? Basically, like for the high school counselors, I wanted responses. How did you like this event? Tell me, your feedback. And instead of saying, here's a survey and including this really atrocious looking link, I said, click here, and I hyperlinked the survey to the word here in the email. So they literally clicked on that. I don't know if that kind of helps answer. So basically I would either directly work with IT to create a landing, link for them, or embed it in a word in your email. So that way it looks pretty and not really overwhelming.
Yeah, so what Christy's talking about there, so instead of this, you could share this. So you can highlight the word and right click on it and go down to link. in here, you just paste the address of the form, which you can just see in this bar. It's really ugly. Hit OK. These will take you to the exact same place. So the link is the best way to get the word out there, and reformatting the link so that it's linked to some sort of text like click here or click this, or working with IT to get a URL that you can put on a poster like www.crowder.edu/URL/admissions help or whatever it may be. And I don't want to throw them under the bus and be the reason they just got like 20 requests for short URLs, but I think
Daniel, feel free to step in.
those out at their discretion based on if Al thinks you might actually need it or if maybe there's a better way. But I'll let Daniel.
I believe the plan is to get a tool that we can use to do that. That'll provide a little bit additional tracking. But yeah, to do shortening URLs, but we just haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah, I think it's on a very case-by-case basis at the moment. And we did have a question come in from somebody asking to show again how to collect the results. So if you're on your forms page, you have the questions tab and the responses tab. So once you've shared it out, people start answering, your responses come in, you'll see up here how many you have. If you click in responses, you get the summary data up front. You have the option to view the results individually, one page at a time. Or if you go back, you can open them in Excel. So you have 3 different ways to view those.
And literally, can you go back one step further, Jackson? Because you get to your survey through the forms. So like from the very beginning forms, and then you can see that we were playing with one yesterday, and then the active one has the 17 responses.
Yeah, this is our practice one.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is our one we've actively been using. So we can click on there. It takes us back to this screen where we can access the responses. And now that everyone has a little bit more context, I'm just going to do a really quick reminder. You get there, portal.office.com. Once you've used forms once, it should be in this sidebar. If not, it's in your app drawer. Go to forms and it'll pull you right in where you can get back to where you left off on your forms.
Yay. We hope everyone feels a little more confident using it. Like I said, it's very handy for anything, internal, external, feedback, event surveys after your events. It's great.
So we'll go ahead and we'll get wrapped up unless anyone has any other questions they want to throw out. If you're trying to make something and you need help or you think of something you want to ask later, you can email me or Christy and we're happy to try to help you out. And if we don't know the answer, we'll find someone that does, but we don't want to hold everybody up all morning. But we're really glad you could make it, and we're going to turn in the list of the participants list to Michelle so that you get your credit. So before you leave, really quick, I'm going to screen grab that list of participants to make sure that I can get you guys what you need. So hang on just a minute because I know you want that.
Yay. Thank you everyone for sharing your morning with us.
All right. Okay. I got our list. So you guys are more than free to go. We appreciate you coming.
Yay.
And we'll see you soon.